The final bill today is House File 2666, and the plan for this bill is for it to be referred to the Committee on Human Services Finance. Oops. And as the Vice Chair settles in, I'll maybe ask her to move House File 2666 for re-referral to the Committee on Human Services Finance.
So moved.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. And then we do have an amendment, a DE2 amendment. Representative Hollins, if you can just maybe orient us to the bill and to the DE2.
Absolutely. So the DE2 is just getting into the format we wanted. We made a couple of small changes and actually added, changed the appropriation amount. So but in general, this is a basic income grant program for the entire state of Minnesota, and it's a pilot program.
Okay. And if I can ask Vice Chair Keeler if you would move approval of the DE2 amendment on behalf of Representative Hollins.
I move the approval for DE2.
Thank you. And so any comments or questions, members, about the DE2, just to get in the form the author wishes? Not seeing any. All in favor of approval of the DE2 amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes. So Representative Hollins, your bill as amended is before us, and please present your bill, and then we'll move to your testifier.
Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you, members. I'm very excited to be presenting this bill. It builds on the successes and lessons that were learned from Springboard, the City of St. Paul, the City of Minneapolis, and over 80 basic income programs that are nationwide. The program would be dispersed as competitive grants to local municipalities, tribal governments, and nonprofits to create localized demonstration projects designed in partnership with local communities. The program would provide direct monthly cash payments of at least $500 for 18 to 24 months. These programs are targeted at Minnesotans receiving public benefits or with an income at or below 300% poverty guidelines. The bill also calls for creating a community of practice basic income cohort that will help guide communities through the design, startup, and implementation of their basic income programs and independent evaluation of the program's outcomes. I have several practitioners and participants of the basic income programs with me today, and I would like to have them give their testimony.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can please identify yourself, welcome the committee, and then present your testimony.
Thank you so much, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Laura Zabel. I'm the Executive Director of Springboard for the Arts. Springboard is a 30-year-old nonprofit organization that's based both in St. Paul and in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. And we work with about 20,000 artists, culture bearers, and creative workers across Minnesota every year. The artists that we work with are teaching in our schools and after-school programs. They're addressing social isolation and elder care. They're helping rural communities attract and retain young people for their workforce. They're creating a culture that defines Minnesota as a vibrant and desirable place to work and live and raise your family. This cultural work, a lot like caregiving work or other community work, is labor that we all know is vital to the health of our communities and our state, but it's also labor that isn't always compensated or compensated fairly. Like other small business owners and gig workers, artists are disproportionately self-employed and often have very variable incomes. Since 2021, Springboard's been piloting basic income programs in both Ottertail County and here in St. Paul. And these are really small, very small basic income pilots, but they've allowed us to understand the community impact of basic income, particularly in rural places. I've brought with me today 2 stories from folks in our rural basic income pilot in Ottertail County because it's hard for them to be here in person. So this first one is from Jess Torgerson from Fergus Falls, who shared this with me yesterday. Quote, I am a freelance arts administrator and artist based in Fergus Falls. In partnership with another artist, I make sculpture from found materials, making use of things that are being wasted to make art. I'm also currently helping to organize a summit for rural leaders. I wouldn't be able to do these freelance community projects if not for the basic income program. Before the basic income, I was working 60 hours a week, which didn't leave time for the things that interest me and serve my community. Now that I have a little cushion, it allows me to know that I'm going to eat that month while pursuing the things that I care about in my work and community. I was born in Fergus Falls, left when I was 17, and came back to be closer to family. And my involvement in the community is what keeps me here. I know some of the other guaranteed income recipients, and I know it has made all the difference in their lives, especially creating a peace of mind and freedom to create, end quote. Through these pilots, we've learned that even a small basic monthly income creates freedom. And Minnesotans use that freedom to explore what shared prosperity can look like. They create experiences and resources for their community, bring people together, build social connection, attract workers, improve mental health, and help us rethink and imagine public spaces and institutions and tackle some of the most pressing challenges that our communities are facing, like environmental sustainability, social connection, and education. The participants in our pilots have also used this freedom to invest back in the communities that have invested in them. And these are the same kind of results that are reflected in the data and the research from the pilots that are happening all over the country. That data shows that participants increase employment, improve mental health, improve child development, and improve the overall health of all the participants. Here's one more story from Tori Hanna, who's a fiber artist and business owner in Fergus Falls. Tori's worked really hard to start a business in Fergus Falls and to support her daughter and take care of her aging mother. She says, quote, "My daughter moved back in with me during the pandemic, and all of a sudden we were supporting each other. At the time, our home was a one-bedroom apartment above my business, which is a yarn store that had also closed during the pandemic. I got the basic income starting last month, and it helped us get the credit cards paid off and get our credit scores up, so we were ready when a house came on the market. 2 months ago, we were able to close on a house and move out of the one-bedroom apartment. It's small and it's old, but it's perfect for us, and we are amazingly ecstatic about it. The basic income is helping us to continue to make house payments and make sure everything is stable. As far as my business, this has made it possible for me to have products to sell because I'm not afraid to buy inventory.
You should have your wrap up.
I'm also
Yeah.
doing a lot more community work, including working with the Welcoming Committee in Fergus Falls and working with the Senior Center to make art for downtown windows." End quote. Just in closing, I think one of the most important parts of this bill is that it relies on the expertise of local communities to design their own basic income pilots, which will allow for a lot of customization across urban, rural, suburban, and tribal communities, and will help us create a statewide demonstration that basic income creates a foundation for working people to make families, businesses, and communities vibrant and strong. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your testimony. So maybe ask both Mercedes Yarbrough and Leandra Estes, not sure I'm saying the names correctly, but come on up. And I think we have an extra chair up there, I'm hoping. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I may have been wrong. Okay. Oh, that's good. Yeah, thanks, Representative Hollins. Yeah, and so if we can have the first testifier begin, if you can identify yourself and proceed with your testimony.
Hello, I'm Mercedes Yarbrough, a participant in the College Bound program, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to testify on House File 2666. First and foremost, I want to extend my appreciation to Chair Pinto, Representative Hollins, and all members of the committee for allowing me to share my experiences with this program. I first learned about the College Bound program through social media, and I was immediately intrigued by the incentives it offered, especially as I had just welcomed my fourth son into the world. The program has exceeded all my expectations, I am pleased to report that my experience with it has been overwhelmingly positive. The monthly stipend of $500 have been incredibly beneficial for my family, particularly as I am a mother of 4 boys who seem to have a bottomless appetites, and the cost of groceries continue to rise. Unfortunately, our family encountered unexpected hardships when my younger brother became the victim of a tragic shooting involving a St. Paul Parks and recreation worker. This unforeseen tragedy caused significant disruption to my family's situation. My children's father, deeply affected by the incident as it involved his own brother, had to take extended leave from work to support his family and aid his brother's recovery. Witnessing the emotional and mental toll it took on him, I encouraged him to prioritize his healing by temporarily stopping work while I took on the financial responsibilities. The $500 stipend provided by the College Bound program has truly been a blessing for us during this challenging time. I'm immensely grateful for the support it has provided to my family when we needed it the most. I want to express my sincere gratitude to all of you for taking the time to listen to my testimony today. I hope that my story will contribute to the continued availability of the College Bound program for families in St. Paul, ensuring that they receive the same support and assistance that has been invaluable to mine. Thank you again for your attention and consideration.
Thank you for being here and for your testimony. I'm so sorry for the tragedy involving your family. Appreciate you being here with us. Thank you. Then Leandra Estes, your final testifier. If you please identify yourself and proceed. Welcome.
Absolutely. Good morning and hello to you all. My name is Leandra Estes. I'm a descendant of the historical Rondo community, and I'm now a homeowner of the Frogtown community in St. Paul, Minnesota. Thank you, Chair Pinto, Representative Hollins, and member of the committee, and thank you for this opportunity to listen to my testimony on House File 2666 and sharing my experience with the St. Paul College Bound Boost Guaranteed Income Program. Upon giving birth to my now 2-year-old son, I learned of the College Bound program. As an advocate for my children and for myself, I immediately took interest in learning more about College Bound. Upon navigating through the simple directions to enroll and through phone contact when I had questions, I was pleasantly introduced to College Bound Boost, a basic income program that guarantees $500 monthly payments. I now stand before you as a College Bound Boost parent, advocate, ambassador, and committee chair representative. Wearing these titles is my proud duty to serve as a link, recruiter, and educator to the program. College Boost has changed my life impressively. It has provided me with the means to save intentionally, something that I have not been able to do successfully since becoming a homeowner almost 5 years ago. College Boost has provided an emergency account and afforded me the ability to pay off child care fees, to send my daughter to the HBCU college tour that's coming up this fall. This past winter, I was able to purchase 4 new tires for our transport needs, providing us safety. And most dear to my heart, College Boost blessed me with the affordability to purchase a large sofa. And I know that sounds heinous, but this past year, my brother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. He was given 6 months to live. 5 months later, we lost him. But during those 5 months, we were able to gather at my home. And I was able to have a sofa large enough to seat the capacity of my extended family. And that was very, very important to us, as I am the only homeowner of my family. College Boost, in conclusion, has added security for my vehicle, security for my home, security for my children and our investments, and security for my family. College Bound Boost gives us individuals hope. It brings joy and security, and most of all, it has allowed us to believe that our dreams will become reality through financial support. Again, we thank you, Chair Pinto, House Representative Hollins, and thank you to all the members of the committee. And I'm very happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for reminding us of the stability and dignity of having a sofa that you can gather with your family at a tough time. Thank you so much to both of you for your testimony. Are there any members of the public who wish to testify on the bill? Any additionally? I'm not seeing anyone. Thanks to both of you again. And so then we're going to move to member discussion and questions. Representative Perez-Vega.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give a lot of grace to my colleague, Representative Hollins, and everyone who's co-authored this bill, and most importantly to our testifiers today, for the champions and warriors for you to testify in entering what it is the reality for so many of us. These are programs that are not handouts. These are programs that support the systemic injustice that we, especially women of color and mothers, face. That whether it's keeping the lights on and the power, whether it's awaiting for the services that have been delayed by the counties, by the city, that those little pushes, which should be a lot more, with everything that's been survived as women of color and mothers of villages, to embrace. And I just want to say that I'm so proud of the programs and the Wilder Foundation and so many different advocates that have been providing these services in my district and outside of our district. And I hope that other members of the committee do support and emphasize on the grace that you provided today. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Perez-Vega. Representative Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Representative Hollins. I don't want to waste the committee's time with a line of questioning regarding different aspects of this bill, so I'm going to try to summarize my concerns, and I'll allow you the opportunity to correct whatever misperception I may have. I think I know what this bill is trying to do, but I am confused as to the method that it's utilizing in order to do it. It occurs to me that if the idea was to provide something akin to either a universal basic income or a minimum income guaranteed, that we have mechanisms within the state in order to facilitate that. You know, we've got our Department of Revenue. They could identify those who meet an income qualification and then provide monthly deposits through a secure cash benefit system. Instead, what this bill does is it gets middlemen involved, including nonprofits. As I see it, there are no quality controls on those nonprofits. We're looking at potentially a situation where none of the lessons learned from Feeding Our Future have been applied. There's no measure to follow up with these nonprofits or their cash recipients to verify who's getting the money. In fact, you start looking around lines 227 through 32, and it very explicitly says that we must not require any other income, proof of residency or citizenship, or identifying documentation of any recipient. Once somebody is certified, which apparently just requires them to attest that they qualify, there's no requirement to recertify. That's in line 224. There's no guardrails to prevent kickback schemes from cash recipients to nonprofit staff, handpicking recipients for a price. There's no controls or limits on administrative costs. So you could have a nonprofit just pay whatever salary to its staff, justified through whatever reason they make up, and skim off the top that way. This program very explicitly would provide support to illegal immigrants or persons claiming to be someone other than they actually are. We're not even going to question that. There's not going to be any documentation whatsoever. In fact, I believe in line 3.2, it explicitly says that, let me start from the beginning of the sentence, grantees may identify priority populations, which may include families, individuals, or youth at risk or of experiencing homelessness, individuals with low income, wanting to acquire more training, job skills, or education, or individuals and families who have recently relocated to Minnesota from other states or other countries. And we're just not going to verify citizenship. That's in 227. So I guess what I'm wondering is, why aren't we doing this in a way that's simpler, more secure, gets the job done in a way that's verifiable, that actually verifies that the people who we're providing these funds to actually do qualify? And does that have something to do with the stated goal in line 1.7 of advancing equity?
Representative Hollins.
You gave me a lot, so I'm going to try to answer it.
It's true.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative Hudson. I think that some of the things that you've brought up are completely valid, and in particular, the administration fees. That's something I would be happy to work on in conjunction with you. I think from our perspective, we're trying to work within the frame of nonprofits, tribal governments, municipalities, because we think that those folks know their communities better than the state at large knows the community. I mean, when we talk to my testifier who has the folks in Fergus Falls, I don't know anything about Fergus Falls. I've been there twice, right? And so I don't think that I am the right person to try to administer or figure out who should be a part of this program and who should apply. And so part of it is that local control and that local engagement that nonprofits and local municipalities have with particular communities, and certainly tribal governments with those communities, right? I don't think that we at the state are necessarily the right people to go into communities and say, you're the ones that qualify, we understand your struggles, because we don't, right? It's too high level. Now, that being said, I do think that it's important that we extend this, as it's pilot programs, that we extend this to individuals who may not have documentation. And for that matter, I mean, so the city of St. Paul had one of these pilot programs, and we gave it to residents of the city of St. Paul. Some of those residents moved, right? With the money, they were like, I want to move to the suburbs. I want to have a bigger house with a place that can accommodate my children. And they still got to be a part of that program, because we truly believe that having this guaranteed basic income that comes in every month is important. And we want to see how that impacts community members. And those are community members, people who are participating in our communities, regardless of their legal status, regardless of what their families look like. And part of what we're trying to do with this is, as I mentioned, as a part of the bill, is creating a program that will help guide communities through the design and startup of this program, but then also that will evaluate the program's outcomes, because that's really what we want to do. We want to gather data to find out how this works. And I think part of that is gathering data from people who maybe don't speak English as a first language, maybe have different experiences, different education levels. All of those things are important so that we can distill that information and figure out how to best implement something like this in the future if we wanted to do something at a statewide level that identifies all the people through the Department of Revenue or something like that. So in my mind, it's important for us to actually capture all of that information and to engage with the communities as holistically as possible. Because the reality is, even if you are a recent immigrant or you're a migrant worker, you're still a part of that community, right? There are communities that are relying on these people to provide services within those communities. And for us to turn a blind eye to that and say that that doesn't apply is just not realistic. And especially when we're trying to curb things like crime, poverty, people, relying on less than ideal ways of obtaining money. We want to make sure that we're including everybody in that count so that we can be as holistic as possible. And I know that doesn't probably satisfy you, but I do think it's actually important and it's not a mistake. But on some of the oversight aspects of it, I would be happy to work on that. And I do think there's a valid point to it.
Representative Hudson, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Representative Hollins, for attempting to digest what I threw at you. I think you and I could probably spend an hour and a half just talking about this. But I'll leave it to this, which is I'm still confused regarding the choice of methodology, even based upon what you had to say, for a couple of reasons. One, in terms of the data gathering, this is designed, as I see it, to not impact people's eligibility for other services. It's not counted as income and what have you. And so I don't know who the control group is. Like, how do we know that the reason why somebody had a certain employment outcome or economic income or housing income or whatever the case may be is because they got this, as opposed to any other factor that we're saying is not going to be affected by their receipt of this? That's just one question that I'll let lie for future discussion. And then the other aspect of it is that when you talk about empowering local communities to design programs that are specific to their populations, that concept makes sense. I don't see how it applies to the stated goal of this program, because what we're saying is that people who their household income is less than or equal to 300% of the poverty level, that they qualify. I don't understand what other factor needs to be taken into consideration to determine who gets it and who doesn't, which kind of brings me back to my whole point regarding using something like the Department of Revenue, perhaps a program that casts a wider net, even something akin to like a negative income tax, where we're just saying, listen, if you are suffering economic difficulties, we're going to come alongside you. We're not going to spend a bunch of time with a bunch of middlemen trying to figure out whether or not you deserve it. We're just going to meet that economic need. So some food for thought moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Hudson. Yeah, well, we've got a number of members in limited time, so just ask folks to be real focused. Representative Lee?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be quick. As a fellow St. Paul, I just want to amplify and uplift the stories from our witnesses today. The most important thing I wanted folks to take away is that, while Mercedes and Leandra, were direct beneficiaries of this program, they helped enrich their communities as well. And so, I want folks to understand that UBI is targeted to help individuals, but it enriches the rest of their community members, right? And that stretches far and wide. I want to address 2 points from the other side, which I think the takeaway is, this program maybe could become fraudulent. And the other one is we're giving money to people who shouldn't have it. And so I just want to address those 2 points. Every time we talk about feeding our futures, I think people should keep in mind this is a federal program, and our Minnesota State Attorney General was the one who said, hey, we need to go after these people, right? So it wasn't a state program that the legislature here approved. And so I want to say we're a step ahead of the federal government. So we just want to make sure folks clarify that or understand that. And the other thing is we have a bill that we heard the other day in the Taxes Committee, because right now nonprofits have to file a 990s, and they are more transparent than multi-million dollar companies that do business in Minnesota. So I hope Rep. Hudson or other folks will support that bill to bring about greater transparency, because corporations also benefit from the taxpayer dollars that we give them. The other piece I want to emphasize is that I was a person who carried the ITINs bill last year, so I want folks to also walk away understanding that people who are non-citizens currently pay taxes to Minnesota. And so and people with green cards, have social security numbers, but they are not U.S. citizens. And I want to make sure we understand that the Minnesota tax base is funded by undocumented and non-citizens. So I give that back to the chair because I know we don't have a lot of time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Lee. And I thank the testifiers, too. I'm going to ask the 2 of you, I think, to return to your seats if you can, and so that Representative Hollins can sort of be in the middle with the microphone. But thank you so much.
One testifier had something to say. Is that okay?
Oh, we're so tight on time. I'm so sorry, but I think we really do need to. So Representative Davis, will go to you as Representative Hollins, Sedley Mill. And thanks again to all 3 testifiers. Representative Davis, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I would just like to start off by saying that, yes, transparency is something we desperately need in government. So I just have a question. So someone gets enrolled in this program, they begin receiving the $500 a month up to 18 months, the way I'm understanding it. What if they get a good paying job right after they get enrolled in this program? Will the $500 immediately go away, or do they even have to report the extra income they're making now?
Representative Hollins.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Representative. My understanding is they do not. However, I will call on my technical assistance, if that's okay.
No problem. Yeah, and I think we'll plan to go maybe 5 minutes over. I think we're allowed to do that, but we probably can't do more than that. So yeah, if you can please identify yourself and answer the question.
Hi, yes, I'm Casey Wiedrick. I'm the Financial Capability Manager with the Office of Financial Empowerment for the City of St. Paul and manage the guaranteed income.
Okay.
In there. So in the programs as they have been designed, if someone income does go up, they do not have to recertify, so they would continue to receive the payment.
Okay, thank you, Representative Davis.
Okay, well, this brings me to my next question. The $500 that they're receiving every month, and as Representative Lee pointed out, this is coming out of the taxpayer's pocket. That's where the magic money tree of government money comes from, is from the hardworking taxpayer. And right now, many Minnesotans are out of their income spending 45% of their earnings on taxes right now in the state of Minnesota. And this program is definitely going to raise those taxes. But is there any accountability to how a person receiving this $500 a month, is there any accountability to how they're spending it? I think taxpayers would like to see the receipts.
Okay, Representative Hollins.
There's been a number of studies that have shown that cash assistance, UBI assistance, is something that actually works best when people get to decide what they are spending it on. And I'll give an example, right? You might say that, well, you need to be spending it on food or you need to be spending it on childcare. But one of our testifiers said, we need to spend it on a couch, right? And that's not something that we could have predicted, or tires for your car so you can drive your kids safely to school. And so because of that, there's been a number of studies that have shown that actually allowing people to decide how they spend that money is really important to help them get ahead. And furthermore, a lot of the folks who have been on this program have actually started saving so that they have a cushion so that if they lose their job, they have something to turn to so that they're able to, continue thriving even during that time period when they maybe don't have an income. And so for that reason, we are not looking at specific, like, this is what you must spend the money on. If you're talking about like a report back on what they spent the money on, I don't think I'm necessarily opposed to that, because it would just be interesting to know also. But I think at current, it's really important to us that we keep it open and allow people to spend the money on the things that they feel that they need.
And I'll note this bill, as written, would require a report on the efficacy and cost effectiveness of the program. Representative Davis, back to you.
Yeah, I have a lot more questions, but obviously we don't have time. I can just tell you that this program absolutely will be abused. Working at a drug and alcohol treatment program for 12 years, I've seen a lot of abuse with government funds being spent on people's addictions. And I can tell you from experience, this money is going to go to things like that. And so I would highly encourage us to have something in here that says, hey, you got to turn in some receipts on what you're spending this money on. We need more accountability. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Davis. Maybe Representative Katiza-Watun, if it's real quick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will curb what I was going to say, but I appreciate the first testifier sharing stories from Otter Tail County. I think one of the things that we like to try to do here in the legislature is really silo ourselves into the metro, the suburbs, and greater Minnesota. And our connections are greater than that. And I have family in Otter Tail County, the real OC, if you will, and I own property in that area. My husband grew up in that area, and I think that this is impacting community members all across the state of Minnesota. So that's just something really important to remember. And it's also really important to remember, I think, after Representative Davis is going on and on about receipts, how do we determine what $500 people spent on drugs? How do we determine what $500 people spent on a couch? How do we determine what $500 of the money that they spent on food or childcare? We earn $5.8 billion off the backs of undocumented immigrants in the state of Minnesota. $1 billion. They are paying taxes, and we should be supporting them as a member of our community.
Thank you, Representative Katiza-Watun. We do not, I'm afraid. So let's have a continued conversation. And this is an ongoing conversation about the bill as well. We're sending it on to another committee with the vote that's about to be taken now. We'll have that conversation. So Representative Holland's final comment on your bill, and then we'll need to go.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. This is an ongoing conversation, and we're working out details as we go. But I would appreciate the support of the committee. Thank you.
Let's keep the conversations going. So with that, Representative Keeler renews her motion. The House File 22666 as amended be referred to the Committee on Human Services Finance. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. The bill is on its way.